Back to the Buzz Club. I am your host, Bintu Honeybee, and today you are in for a treat. We have a special, and it's called America's Most Wanted, the Black Male and Endangered Species. We are going to talk about all the issues that are plaguing our black men in America today. To my left, my first guest is Mr. Christopher McFadden. Mr. Christopher is an educator and a dean. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Chris, like Bintu said. I'm an educator, and I was a dean. Now I'm a teacher. I wanted to get back into the classroom. My tag, or what I say to people who ask me what I do in full, is that I educate young people who are perceived as detriments to society and teach them how to positively impact their community.
Thank you, Christopher. What school do you teach at?
I teach at Freedom Prep Charter School in Camden, New Jersey. If you want to have a full picture of what Camden looks like, if you ever saw The Wire, it looks just like that section of Baltimore.
Wow. Well, I would love to get a little bit into that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next to Christopher, we have Sharita Rooney. She is a mother, a proud mother, and also a community activist. Sharita, tell them a little bit about yourself.
So again, my name is Sharita. I've worked before with BAM, an organization by any means necessary, and what we have done in the past is work around affirmative action. Specifically to make sure that minorities are able to obtain scholarships based on their race. Something that has been gone throughout, like Ohio and California, places where they've tried to stop that. So,
thank you, Sharita.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, we have Shane Witherspoon, who is also an educator and a musician. Shane, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Shane Witherspoon. I am a second grade social studies and science teacher at Mastery Charter Clymer Campus in North Philadelphia. I'm also a musician, but I like to say archivist. It's
like
art, activists put together, because a lot of times kids like to learn everything from music, so I just like to teach them through music.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for coming today. Obviously, this has been a challenge for us for a very long time, and I think that there's been an increase of public attention on what's happening with boys and young men of color in the United States of America. They're experiencing some of the highest rates in crime, unemployment, lack of education. Why do you think this is happening in our country right now? Why do you think that there's so much downhill spiral when it comes to what's happening with young black boys in America?
Well, I don't think it's anything new. Okay. I think that, if we look at the emergence of, let's say, and I won't get into that too much, but the criminal justice system, we look at when, after the Civil War, and 95% of black people were now free, there had to be some way in order to control the black body. And so how did they do that? Basically, blacks were painted as criminals. That was one way.
It happened is terrible, but we're so aware of it more right now because it's in our face. We're on our phones all the time. We're looking at the TV all the time. Back 60, I don't want to say 60, but 30 years ago, we had papers. We weren't looking at TV much. We were just looking at our newspapers. But I can say if everyone in the audience were on the SEPTA bus right now, they'd be scrolling on their phones. And they would probably see 2 years ago, or how many ever years ago, a tweet or an Instagram post about Trayvon Martin, or how many years ago about Eric Garner. They would have saw that post immediately.
Right.
Or they would saw whatever post of a black body being terrorized immediately. And probably 10, 15 years ago, you would have had to wait until it got in the newspaper, if it got in the newspaper. So it's just in our face more, and it's terrible.
I just think, like Chris said, I just think that they use social media to distract the youth, because like you said, on the SEPTA bus, only thing you see is people on their phones, people playing music. Like, people don't even talk no more. But the crazy thing about it is, like, if you go to like a different community, And like once you see a black brother, you're gonna speak to him. But if you were in the black community, you don't speak to him. I just want to know like why though? Why it's like that?
One thing I've noticed that stands in the way of a lot of success for young black males, I think, is the lack of motivation, right? Do you believe that the history of slavery and legal segregation and the way people viewed us during that time has an effect on how young black men view themselves now? Do you believe that they have maybe low self-esteem?
Yes, I've had low self-esteem. I have high self-esteem now. I'm not being arrogant, but self-esteem is extremely high. But I would have low self-esteem if I lived and I grew up in an urban community and I heard gunshots very often and I heard police sirens very often and I knew my first cousin got shot or my first cousin was doing a 15-year sentence or my cousin or my brother got beat by the police or my sister got beat by the police. I would have low self-esteem because I would think, would this happen to me? Or I was constantly failing in school to make it less extreme. So my self-esteem would be extremely low.
I think that if we look at education as a whole and how education is structured in order to privilege a certain voice, you know, that voice being white, the white population, right? So it's no stretch of the imagination to understand that just by you coming to school that first day, you know, you are now having to internalize, you know, what it means to be a black person in this white institution. And so I don't think that makes it easy for young black people to value themselves.
Do you think the media plays a major role in the types of stereotypes that are perpetuated? Because I hear a lot of times, or I've read articles, and it seems that maybe young black boys are treated differently than maybe another little white boy in the school, or from what they see on television, they don't see many images of themselves or proud images of, you know, strong black men or successful black men. Do you feel that that has something to do with the way that they view themselves as well?
Yes. As a dean of students, I'm embarrassed to say, but I suspended about, on average, 6 boys a day. I didn't teach at an all-boys school, but I suspended about 6 a day. If I can do the math, 6 times 5, that's 30 a week. And it was for very minute things. If I were to elbow nudge you in the hallway, I'm getting suspended for a day. That's one day I lose my education. And like she said, my education is targeted, or it's a narrow view, and it's toward the white male. But if I was in a suburban school and that elbow nudge was something I saw in the hallway, was something reported to me, that wouldn't be a suspension.
Right.
So I think, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I just want to say that like history teaches us a lot, right? And entertainment in this country for us, or even for whites, right? It started with like, well, maybe it didn't start there, but if we think about minstrelsy and things like that, how were we viewed? What images were, you know, broadcast for other people to be entertained by? Right. Sambo, Jezebel, Mammy, you know, all of that. Yeah. So, does that affect how we see ourselves? Does that affect how we behave? Of course it does, and we still watch it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. So now, do you have something to say for that, Farrah?
I mean, we could go all day. The low self-esteem really came from the father not being in the household, and I'm gonna be serious about that.
Okay.
Because it's
like, it's important.
You look up to your mom, but you're a male. You can't do what your mom do if you're a male. Mm-hmm. Another thing, when it comes to the media, they don't pit positive black TV shows on TV no more.
Like, often, yeah.
But we don't watch them either.
Because we have Blackish, right? And then you'll say to kids, do you watch Blackish? No, but they'll watch Empire. What does Empire promote?
Like I had
sex, drugs.
And I had a student, his birthday is Sunday. He was like, yeah, Mr. Witherspoon, I'm going to see Barbershop. Why? Barbershop, y'all talking about Empire, loving hip hop. Why do parents think it's cool to be your kid's friend? And then when they get 13, 14, 15, they disrespect you. I don't know what's gotten into them. You've been their friend since they were little. Right. That's your fault.
Now, I kind of want to talk about the needs of young black males today. Obviously, I'm a woman. You know, God created me in that fashion. But sometimes I sit back and I think, you know, are the needs of black men being met And what are those needs? Or do we have it all misconstrued? Are we not going about this the right way? What do you think are the needs of Black men
I mean,
today?
there's a scale.
Okay.
There's not one or two or 20 things that Black men need. There's different type of Black males.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they all need different things, but they're all not met. Probably.
So what about, let me be
aren't
more
met.
specific. Let's talk about inner city Black youth.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that, because at what they call at risk, you know? What do you think? You work in these schools. What do you
I do.
think are their needs? What are you seeing that are not being met?
So a lot of them, yes, a lot of them live in single parent homes.
Okay.
A lot of them aren't brought up well.
What does it mean to be brought up well?
It's a very difficult question, but I'm going to kind of ignore it but answer at the same time. They live in homes where they have to, if they're 13, raise their 10-year-old brother or sister because their mom works probably 2 miles from New York and she lives in Camden, which is right over the bridge. So they're not doing their homework. And because they have to put some hot plate in the microwave, some $2 meal they got from the corner store. So it's a lot they have to do, and they have their brain racked and they think they're an adult and they're only 12 years old.
So basically they're really suffering from neglect, I would say, one of the things that's happening.
Yes, but the definition of neglect, their mom probably wouldn't.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that they're
Their
suffering
mom
from
wouldn't want to
neglect.
put themselves in that category because she's trying to bring the money home, and she thinks that's most important for herself. I don't.
But if there's no food in the house and you're hungry and all you do is eat it, because there are some students that I know for a fact that they only get their meals at school. That's a form of neglect.
Some of my students are those
you know,
students.
that
But
is because you have to take that. That's along the guidelines.
Our parents in that situation depend on the school to be fed and be taught because of their situation.
Okay. All right. So what do you think? What's to kind of spin off of that? What do you think about needs? The needs of young Black boys today.
Sometimes, and just like Chris said, I think it is neglect because sometimes it don't always have to be about.
Chris said it's not neglect. So
Oh, it's not.
He doesn't
I'm
want to
sorry.
use that
I
word.
apologize.
I use that word because
Oh,
I know
you
what
use
neglect
it. I'm
looks
sorry.
like.
Like
Go
y'all.
ahead.
I'm trying to think. I try to think what y'all saying. I think it is neglect because sometimes like you have parents like they rely on the teacher to be their parent, their brother, their sister, whatever, just because they don't have time for it. And like sometimes you do have a parent that works from 7 in the morning to like 10 at night. Like so they barely see their kids. Sometimes they don't even check their homework. I have some parents that do their kids' homework. And it's like.
But if not to make this a debate, but if we can go by the phrase, it takes a village.
It takes a village.
We can, as educators in the school, people in the community, we can meet that role of being an educator, being a parent, being a big brother, and then that kid, and I have one particular kid in mind, that kid that comes to school and walks through the threshold of my classroom feels like he's back home again, or he feels like he's at his second home.
Right.
And when he goes home, he's like, I can do my homework here, and then I can't wait to go to sleep and get back to go to school again. And now his life is not all good, but it's a little bit better because he has that brother to go home to. He has that sister or older mom or cousin to go home to. And that environment, where he's running from, he runs to the school for that safety.
Okay.
So, as a parent,
Okay.
I think I'm a little, in one way, I'm a little offended by the whole neglect thing, but I think it's because I'm idealistic about our community, and I just got to be honest. And I have a 10-year-old son. I am a single parent. You know, I'm in grad school. I have 2 jobs. So, do I see my son as much as I would like to? No. Does that mean that I'm a neglectful parent? No. You know, I think that there are many a parent who, you know, have to rely on grandparents, who have to rely on siblings. I am one of those. But there are.
But I think we're not talking about those situations. I think we're talking about parents who, you know, don't leave food in the house. Parents who are constantly on social media, not going to school meetings. I mean, we have meetings and parents don't come unless we offer food.
That's what I'm
Are
talking
there
about.
are there like an overwhelming, or is
Yes,
that?
there is.
Do y'all
Yeah.
want to
Yes,
say?
It is.
Yes, there is
It
an
is.
overwhelming amount of
I
people
mean,
like that.
But
And,
we're not
and
saying
that's
Sharita is that person.
we're not
Yeah.
saying-
No, I'm not
Yeah,
saying
I'm not saying
that.
every parent.
Obviously, however, but what I'm just saying is, when I was teaching, you know, so I'm a math teacher also, and I can't say that I would and this is just my experience, and maybe it was because I was at a school that was not necessarily just a neighborhood school, high school of the future. It's a different set of kids there. So that wasn't my experience, is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
That's
and
it.
from working in the community, in a promise zone, if you guys don't know what promise zones are, Barack Obama, he labeled at-risk communities with drugs and violence at promise zones. I work in a promise zone for about 5 years, and I see some of the same trends, a lot of trends. I see some of the same behaviors of when tax time comes out, what they're purchasing. I see that we'll have meetings, and they're not coming to those meetings. They're not concerned. We have to have food. I see there are different types of parenting, of course. No, we don't think if you get help from your family, that's neglect. But certain things are neglect. If your kid has sneakers on that are too small for their feet, and they've been wearing it for over a year, and you have new clothes on and new shoes, that's neglect. If your child is constantly hungry and stealing food and putting it in a backpack to take home, that's neglect. So we're talking about what they call neglect, what you would have to call child services for, neglect. And quite frankly, a lot of African American boys are neglected. In a way, I want to kind of move on to the next topic. One way of neglect, I think, is leadership. Let's talk about the lack of leadership in our communities, okay? Do you guys feel like there's a crisis among minority male leadership? Do you feel like we don't have enough of that to go around? Or people are not just stepping up to the plate to be mentors, or like you talked about fathers not being in a home. Do you think that's one of the issues that we're having?
I would go with the or. A lot of us aren't stepping up, and I'm saying us as me, myself. The lack of leaders, I would say no, lack of leadership. When I think of lack of leadership, I would think about Martin Luther King, Huey P., Malcolm X, and those guys. And they were like leading the nation when it comes to trying to uplift black people.
Right.
But we have so many knowledgeable black men that we all just need to just grab a youngin in the street if we see them with their pants down, or not with their pants down, but doing the wrong thing.
Right.
And we need to just, youngin, let me talk to you for a second. We can do that instead of driving by or walking by and tweeting these young boys, knuckleheads out here. Most of us probably do that. I've done it myself.
Okay. You have something to say about leadership? Who are the kids looking up to today?
Prime example, Meek Mills. But I think, we can step up, but sometimes I'm not gonna say it's hard, but it's like when you tell a young boy something, they get smart, you ain't my dad, you ain't my brother, who are you, old head? So it's do we really want to do that, for real?
Maybe it's not, but do you want to? Because you did, because you started to. It's about how do we do it, right?
Yeah, it's how.
How can I relate to this young boy? How can I let them know that maybe being on the streets is not what's hot, or listening to this isn't the best thing for them, or making this decision? How do you provide leadership to your youth?
So I look up to Meek. He's probably younger than me. I can say that for a fact. But
the rapper?
Yes. I don't know anybody else named Meek.
I had to be clear.
No, I'm not saying you. I wasn't complaining. I'm sorry. Oh my God.
My man, don't start saying that you can't finish.
No, explain. It's okay. It's the open forum.
Look up
So
to
tell
me.
me. I'm interested in knowing.
Every time I'm on my way to work, I'm listening to his song Check, and then keep going, Dreams and Nightmares. But because, not the same way, but his songs motivate the kids to do whatever they want to do, and it motivates me to do whatever I need to do. I'm getting a check.
Wait,
You disagree.
Oh, wait. How?
Now tell me why you disagree.
How?
Because Meek came from a place where he didn't see no way out, and now he's at this place. Yes, he's going backward, but he keeps bouncing back. And I didn't come from that place, but his momentum and his movement that he grew from, we can tell that message to younger people. No, don't go down that road. Don't go hand in hand on your corner and everything like that. But if you want to make a dollar, if you want to do this, you got to do this to be successful, just like he did. Not the same way, but you got to do what you got to do to get where you want to get.
But you just said you look up to him.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to do what he want to do, but I look up to that movement he created. Yes.
Dream Chasers. That's a good name.
Dream.
But listen, you had, first of all, this is the guy that raps about killing people, and then he want to say, "Oh, too many killings going on in my city." You rap about it. You're not even making sense.
So
making
there's
sense.
a lot of contradiction going on.
Yeah, a lot of
some of our leaders. And also, let's talk about.
I would never call him a leader, though.
But that's why I said, who are these kids? Because that's the youth leadership, So when we talk about people like Bill Cosby, for instance, that was a leader to us, You know, and so there was a contradiction there. You know.
But on the same tongue, I would say I look up to Lil Wayne.
Okay.
Yo, boy, you going crazy today. You
But
going crazy.
I'm not gonna walk in
Yo.
the streets with Lil Wayne and say this is my dog. But if I listen to his lyrics, some of his songs, I'm like,
Maybe
I
you
feel
know what
like
I think
dying.
it is? Maybe there's a
nah, not that song.
maybe
But
maybe
you gotta
because
turn,
he's
like,
okay. It's different because you're educated, so you kind of know what to filter out, right?
Yes, and
but
I teach.
they don't, right? So that's what we're saying. So they don't. So really, truly, should they be really listening to these people?
No, and I wouldn't tell him, like, I wouldn't sit a black boy next to me and say, these are the people to look up to.
Okay.
But I will turn on a Meek song, and I would turn on
about
a Lil Wayne song and
Nas?
say, how can
Nas,
we analyze
19,
these lyrics,
17.
and how can we
Let's be respectful now.
analyze these lyrics, and how can we live through this song? How can we live through Polos and Shell Tops?
Right.
What Meek Mill's is
So we,
talking
we
about.
still have to relate. So I understand from Chris' perspective, we can't just shut it all the way down.
No.
Because this is what they're listening to. Like, so we kind of have to find a way to kind of speak their language.
Can
so
I say that I look up to their positive messages?
some of them.
I don't look up to their lives.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Shane.
I'm sorry. I used to mentor North Philadelphia. The zip code my school is in is one of the top 10 worst zip codes in the country. Now, I have middle schoolers that just want to ride dirt bikes all day long. They don't want to do nothing else. What Meek Mill really do? Yes, he donated coats from Reebok, which Rick Ross was sponsored by. We don't know if he actually paid for those coats. They could have been free. My fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, we donate every year.
Okay.
If you getting so much money that you claim you get, do something else. Build a rec center.
Right.
That's why I don't look up to him.
Okay.
But if you can turn on a Meek Mill song and sit a youngin next to you, and then that youngin start to talk about his life through that Meek Mill song, you bridge that gap between you and the youngin.
And
I'm talking about.
I understand that. I know what you're saying.
Thing. I'm not looking up to Meek Mill.
All right.
Like,
Thank you. So
I want to
okay.
hang out with that man. Go ahead. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. I understand from both of your perspectives. I definitely understand. Thank you guys. How do you feel being in the middle of these gentlemen? It's fire.
His song's
ain't it?
hot though.
Okay.
I mean, his song's
All right.
hot.
Keeping
but-
the
Yes.
peace.
It's okay. It's okay, guys. We're going to talk about education. Let's talk a little about education. Did you guys know that by their mid-30s, 6 in 10 African-American boys have dropped out of school and spent some time in prison? 6 out of 10. What is that? What is that? When you hear a statistic like that, what does that make you feel? Like, how does that make you feel? 6 out of 10. By the mid-30s, dropped out of high school, spent some time in prison.
It makes me cringe and it stings because I used to educate high school dropouts for a few years before I became a dean of students and a teacher at Freedom Prep Charter School. I worked at Youth Build Philly Charter School.
Okay.
Most of my black male students, less than half of my black male students were in and out of jail that same year that they were supposed to graduate. Some didn't graduate because they were arrested. Okay. I can remember one of my students exactly. He didn't call his mom, he didn't call his dad, he didn't call his uncle. He called me the morning, like 10 o'clock. I can remember that exact moment, like, Mr. Chris, I just got locked up. And he was like, I don't know what's
What
he
to
was
do
like,
with this?
I need bail money. I was like, I was like really stuck, but I was stuck on emotion. I was stuck on like, how can I help this kid? And I was
Right.
stuck on like, what did you do to get yourself in this situation?
Mm-hmm.
But it was like I was thought about the whole time I like spent educating these young black men is like I think about the trap that they're stuck in.
Okay. The web.
That's some new
So-
language I just learned.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking of is how all of this is connected, right? So
Okay.
image is connected to your question now. So, and I'm thinking about things that we hear a lot about. We hear a lot about, the achievement gap. And then, then we hear about how there's so many black people or black students or young black boys who are disproportionately being suspended or being disciplined within the school. And if you flip that, those are two sides like of the same coin.
Right.
So how can we connect the two, right? We see that these same students who are disciplined disproportionately then spend time out of school, right? Which
Right.
affects their academic performance.
Then they're behind.
Right,
Then
so
they can't catch
they're
up.
being pushed out.
Yeah, pretty much.
And why are they being pushed out? It's connected to test scores also. So now we push out the people that are not
Survival of the
performing well,
fittest.
right?
Darwin.
Right.
Evolution.
So I mean, but it can be connected to identity.
Yeah.
It can be connected to how these young men see themselves, and what is their place in society, really.
Exactly. Like Does America, does society have a place for them, really? Because like some people say, like, if all black men just woke up tomorrow and said, I'm gonna go get a job, I'm gonna go be successful, will we receive them as such? Will we open our arms?
Are there jobs for them?
Are there jobs for them? There are jobs, but are they for them? You know?
I mean,
So I just want to say one more thing in regards to that, you know, that in relation to this growth, this rapid growth of the prison industrial complex, you know, that did not grow at the same time that there was a high increase in crime. So why did it grow? What happened there? There was a shift in social in that aspect, right? And so therefore, it was noted that these people, there's no place for them. So what do we do with them? We criminalize them, we jail them.
Right. I'm going to ask, why is it that you think that there are more African Americans in special education today than any other race? Because, I mean, come on, let's be honest. And labeled as ADHD or this or that.
That's what it is.
Being a special education teacher, I struggle with it, and I ponder with it because I started off teaching as a co-teacher in a self-contained special education classroom, and most of my students were black males, and some of them were very, 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 very smart. Not very smart. What am I doing? But they were academically low, but they didn't need to be in that self-contained classroom. Yeah. But once they got into that self-contained classroom,
It brought them down.
yes, and then they started to